My name is Macarena Parra, and this is the Stats final project. So my topic was how does engagement with restrictive dieting content influence a teenager's long-term self-esteem and body image satisfaction. So the correlation was negative between time spent on social media and body satisfaction, because as the number of hours students spent on social media increased, their body satisfaction scores generally decreased. Students who were exposed to restrictive dieting content more frequently also reported lower self-esteem and higher levels of body dissatisfaction. The data collected supports this relationship by showing high agreements with comparison-related statements and a downward trend between social media usage and body satisfaction. It appears to be moderate, meaning there is a noticeable relationship, although not every participant followed the exact same pattern. The reasoning behind the correlation is that social media platforms expose adolescents to highly edited and idealized body standards. Frequent exposure to dieting and appearance-focused content increases the likelihood of self-comparison. Comparison may lower confidence and increase dissatisfaction when students feel they cannot achieve the same appearance as influencers or peers. Students spending more time online are more likely to repeatedly encounter this content, increasing its psychological impact over time. Platforms such as TikTok and Instagram rely heavily on visual content, which intensify pressure related to appearance and body image. So for the null hypothesis, there is no significant relationship between exposure to restrictive dieting content on social media and adolescent body satisfaction or self-esteem. The alternative hypothesis is that there's significant negative relationship between exposure to restrictive dieting content on social media and adolescent body satisfaction and self-esteem. Increased exposure is associated with lower body satisfaction as self-esteem. The limitations that went along with this was that the sample size was relatively small, I surveyed 75 students, which may limit how well the results represent all adolescents. Participants were only from Texas, so findings may not apply to students from different regions or cultures. The study relied on self-reported data, meaning responses may have been exaggerated, minimized, or inaccurate. Because the study was cross-sectional, it shows correlation rather than causation. The results cannot prove that social media directly causes lower self-esteem. Other outside variables such as peer pressure, family influence, or existing mental health conditions may also affect body image. The study focused specifically on restrictive dieting content and did not examine all forms of appearance-related media. So the statistical conclusion. The data showed a negative correlation between exposure to restrictive dieting content and an adolescent's body satisfaction and self-esteem, meaning that students who spent more time on social media generally reported lower confidence and more body dissatisfaction. Using a 95% confidence interval, the results support a consistent negative relationship between the variables. Therefore, the null hypothesis was rejected and the alternative hypothesis was accepted because the data suggests that increased exposure to restrictive dieting content is associated with lower self-esteem and body dissatisfaction among adolescents. These are the graphs that I collected from my survey. This one shows the hours of social media use per day with the average self-esteem score ranging from a 4.1 to a 2.1 depending on the hour, how much time they spent on social media, ranging from an hour to 6+ hours. Here is the relationship between daily social media use and body satisfaction, showing a negative correlation with the hours of social media use per day and body satisfaction score. Here we have a pie chart showing the emotional impact of restrictive dieting content, showing the majority shows very negative with 42% and only 3% showing very positive. Here are the gender differences in body image pressure, which can range from men to women, which is the percentage of students with their gender. Here we use the distribution of daily social media usage and the correlation of the number of students with the hours of social media use per day to show the social media usage. And then lastly, we have the correlation summary table, which are the two variables, the correlation and what it means. Here we have the hours on social media, exposure to dieting content, comparison behavior, hours on social media as the first variable, and the second variable being body satisfaction, self-esteem, body dissatisfaction, comparison behavior. And the interpretation, which shows moderate negative correlation, moderate negative correlation, moderate positive correlation, and moderate positive correlation.